The government is quietly reshaping the supply pipeline.
I think people are actually overreacting.
I think the impact is actually a bit bigger than what it seems.
Maybe.
Wow, DFMA, new term, let's all learn together. DFMA.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Property Wealth Pod. I'm Alan.
And I'm Joel. Today, wow, the news cycle already been very active. GLS supply trim. Okay, buyer protection upgraded, and our Minister Chee REDAS speech, all pointing towards one big theme. The government is quietly reshaping the supply pipeline.
Exactly, and today we are not just going to summarize the news, so we're going to explore what it actually means for buyers, investors, sellers, and of course developers. Okay?
And we're going to disagree with other a little bit here and there because we have differing points of view.
Yeah.
Okay? Some of these changes, I think the impact is actually a bit bigger than what it seems.
We'll see about that. Let's get into it.
Let's start with the supply trim first. One line go across. Okay, so it's confirmed for the list for first half 2026. It's going to be about 4,500 private units. On paper, the government calls it a modest adjustment.
Yes, okay, but the modest in the GLS term, right, can actually shift the demand. Okay, can shift the demand patterns actually. So I think people are actually overreacting. Okay, it is a small calibration. It's not a big squeeze.
So his first quote, let's quote. Okay, Minister Chee said in his speech, our approach is to ensure a stable and sustainable property market.
Yeah.
But Alan, stability sometimes means letting supply flow consistently, right? So trimming might actually reduce stability later, right? If the demand suddenly rebound.
But I disagree on that because stability, right, is not flooding the market. Right? So remember, we have 2 years there is very heavy supply. Okay, the system actually needs a bit of like breathing room for it to recalibrate. Right? Okay. So the Mr. Chee said, right, we will release land for more than 25,000 private residential home from 2025 to 2027. To me, actually that's quite healthy. Actually, it's not shortage, right? It's actually a structured pipeline.
But here's where I differ in my opinion. All right, buyers don't buy land supply. All right, they buy completed units, right? You all buy all completed units, you don't buy land unless you buy landed, right? 4,500 units for first half 2026 is actually modest. But we've got a supply drop in the completed units coming up.
So completion actually drops every few years. Actually, I feel that it's part of the cycle.
But this cycle comes in a time where there are stricter buyer protection and added developer obligations. Right? So this is going to slow things down even more. They're going to tighten the supply. They're going to give developers those kind of restrictions on construction.
Yeah.
So it's going to give them the developers more challenge when they develop, right? And then this basically means a tightening further down the road.
Maybe, but not all the developers are actually impacted equally. Actually, some of the big players, the big players actually adapt quite fast, and then they have the resources to do so, right?
Okay. So talking about builder manpower and also productivity, right? So the Minister Chee said the proportions of work built through DFMA. DFMA, new term, let's all learn together. DFMA rose from 5% to 68% in under a decade. Right, so what does DFMA mean, Alan?
Yeah, so DFMA basically means design for manufacturing and assembly. So to trim it down, to dumb it down, basically prefab building.
So like you see everybody nowadays they do building like Lego, right? So that's called the DFMA lah, alright? So I think this increase is good, right?
Yeah.
And the transition is still happening. So I would say that this construction time will remain lumpy also lah, because they are still in transition right?
Yeah.
So this can actually delay the supply law.
So of course I see your point, and the DFNA is meant to speed up builds So once it's fully adopted, right, actually supply will become more predictable. Actually not less, right?
But once it is fully, you see your key is once it is fully adopted right? It's not today, right? 2025 to 2027 is the transition period. It's not the stabilizing point.
Fair enough. Okay, so for all of you, actually timing actually really matters for now. And of course, the new rules, the commencement for the defects liability period, right? And the maintenance charge liability will shift from the day 15 from the day of TOP notice to day 35 of TOP notice. So in a way, buyer gets a bit of more buffer before they start to pay anything. That is actually quite good news, right?
Yeah, buyers get more buffer. Developers get more responsibility, right?
Squeeze.
But will this 20-day shift impact pricing? A little bit I think.
I disagree lah. It's such a minute thing. This is administrative matter I don't think it will affect price in anything meaningfully lah.
But more disclosure, more conquest transparency, conquest new word more layout detail. So what is conquest first?
Conquest is basically the construction and quality control. Okay. Conquest band.
So basically, it is the construction quality assessment system.
Yes.
Right. So specifically is that lah.
Yeah.
Right. So basically, they are here to protect more of the buyers with more quality lah. All right. So add that up, and developers basically today in future will carry more responsibility and more accountability. And when accountability goes up, means their margin buffer. Developer, if you are the developer, you also will buffer a bit more because in case got things to be more responsible for, right? You also will buffer up
Okay lah, fair enough lah. There's a bit of indirect impact that will come in from that all lah.
Okay, so let's see. Based on all these things moving forward, let's see who is the big winner in all of this news. All right. Is resale going to be the next big winner? Private housing prices increased around 3% in the first 3 quarters of 2025. That's a slow and steady growth. All right. And I believe this resale, the private property, right, tend to benefit most when the new launch supply actually gets trimmed.
So resale is always the buffer zone, So, but of course, I think the effect will not be immediate lah. Okay, you affect, but it's not immediate. People still prefer new launch, right? If the price gap is acceptable. Yeah.
So, but the thing is, you think it's not immediate, but I think it's going to be quite immediate. I mean, Singapore's time frame, usually market, I feel like to have this, they have this knee-jerk effect. The Bruce Lee kick, it's going to be very immediate. Why? It's because of expectations, right? If the buyers feel like, they get the news that, they're going to cut launch supply, right? They're going to know that, the prices the resale is going to start moving. Agents are going to be advising them, the resale is going to move already, especially when price gaps today is quite large, right? They're going to pivot to resale and try to make a bigger buck there.
So you are saying that Singaporeans are very, very sensitive to all the what ministers say and everything, right?
No,
they move before the thing actually happens.
But let me tell you, actually, it's not Singaporeans who are responsible. Actually, our viewers here not very sensitive. Who is sensitive? People like me, people like Alan. We are very sensitive so that we advise our clients, you may be able to make a bigger buck, better gains in resale, because tomorrow, if resale, the new launch is going to go further high in price, right? It's going to increase the price gap between resale and new launch, ma.
That's why knowledge really matters.
Yeah.
Okay, you must know the knowledge. So we have seen all this kind of price movement happen before.
Yeah.
Okay, and of course it varies between the districts. Okay. Usually OCR resale, right, might benefit a little bit faster. CCR, I'm not so sure.
The RCR,
RCR is, I will say RCR and OCR will be the one that's benefiting
yeah,
more.
I think those, because their entry level prices are actually significantly
Because there is actually more price gap between the new one and the old ones.
Correct.
Yeah,
correct.
so they can benefit a bit more in terms of resale. Okay, so Mr. Chee also said HDB prices rise 0.4% in Q3 2025. Okay? Lowest in 5 years. Okay? That is actually quite important because that shows that the price is actually stabilizing.
Right, but stabilizing doesn't mean people are not upgrading, right?
Yeah.
Right? The upgrader pipeline is still very, very strong, especially in the 5-room and the executive flats. In
Yeah.
fact, recently, somewhere in your area,
neighborhood.
somebody let go executive apartment for $1.5 million.
And the thing about it, right, is it didn't show up in news, whatever. It's just quietly happening, man.
Yeah, so a lot of people it did came out in a very small article. So
Yeah.
small news, but you see, it's nowadays 1.5 million HDB.
Nothing really.
It's
Very common.
It's becoming quite the norm. So a lot of these people are being flushed with a lot of cash flow.
So I mean, of course, the upgraders is still upgraders. So they are actually more price sensitive if new launch prices, right, continue try to trend upwards.
So that's exactly where I'm coming from, right? So you see, if these guys are price sensitive, they are not going to be buying into the up, or suddenly the price gap for the new launch goes so high, right?
Yeah.
They're going to say, hey, why don't I look at the resale market? The resale market suddenly looks so much more affordable. I can buy bigger, I can buy so much more affordable. Why don't I buy next door that is cheaper?
That's why resale sometimes is more attractive.
Yeah, it's the sweet spot.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, now the big spillover. So what's next, right? The biggest impact of the supply trim now is market sentiment. It's not the actual quantity. It's the actual, basically, how people like me, the agents, as well as the rest of the market actually view where it's going to project forward.
ABS.
A bit sensitive.
a bit sensitive already,
Yeah. So what's going to happen? Developers will become more cautious, right? Buyers will become more urgent, right? Especially for resale, they scared the price run, then they get priced out, right? Investors will also start looking at resale. Now, if the new launch is so high, why not go resale? And then the land bids, developers will be a little bit more cautious. I mean, based on the past few government land sale, we can actually see developers very, very aggressive. So maybe in 2026, developers will be a little bit more cautious.
I agree. Sentiment actually always will affect short term. Okay? Short term behavior is always driven by sentiment instead. Okay, so but what about long term? Okay, so the pipeline of 25,000 private homes and 55,000 BTOs, okay, will create a very strong and stable foundation. Okay, so there's another quote that our approach is to ensure a stable and sustainable market.
And ironically, the trimming supply actually, it is a sustainable move, all right? But, it's meant so that the market becomes more stable in a very long term, right? But this way, because purely based on knee-jerk reactions, right, buyers will become anxious, they scared market shift,
Well, exactly because supply signal is always the one that move the emotion before they actually move numbers. Because if you look at the numbers, it's mere 4-point-something% difference only, lesser. Yeah, but people react much more violently when they see this kind of things.
Alan, so what is the bottom line? I think the supply trim is very, very, very small. All right, as you say already,
Yeah.
very, very marginal trim. But symbolically, everyone will interpret this and blow it up bigger than what it is. Buyer protection will slow developer timeline slightly. All right. And then the resale will benefit, the resale may really benefit faster, and new launch prices may stay firm in 2026, or maybe it will go a bit further. All right.
I don't think the new launch prices will start to have any softening or something like that.
Yeah,
It's gonna be like-
I mean, it has gone very, very quickly in 2025 lah.
and then the land bids are all
Very,
you see the
very-
numbers you know the price cannot come down
Yeah, so I mean, when you look at the developer land bids from 2025 for the supply in 2026, it's quite significant.
Find out the numbers yourself, or look at all our other videos. We'll talk about it a lot. Okay, on my take itself, the supply is actually still very healthy overall. Okay, the trim is a calibration lah. It's not like a restriction, not the tightening of anything. So it's just a calibration. And the developers, I have faith in them, right? They will adapt quite quickly on all the like the building restriction and all this. Then what I feel is buyer actually shouldn't rush into any decision or rush into any conclusion, because all this is not final. It's a very liquid or very fluid market.
Yeah.
Okay? But they should always stay informed in all these kind of things that are happening.
Yeah,
Okay?
and that's the reason why we are here. We are here to actually give everybody this kind of information. We give all our viewers differing points of view so that you stay informed of all these markets, all this market property news, as well as how it impacts you as a homeowner, as a buyer, or as an investor. All right, so that's all we have for you today, based on this minister's one speech.
And for everyone listening, okay, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Okay, and if you like more of our content, we have more coming up. Okay, the best thing you can do now is to understand supply, because supply shapes everything.
All right, and that's all we have for you today. We'll see you in the next video.
See you.
See you.